Good day, friends. This is a voice-only video because a face is just a distraction. Again, as usual, first of all, thank you for being here. Your presence is very much appreciated. If the content will be of your liking, please consider giving us a like and subscribing, as this will help the channel very much. Today's topic is my take on cryptocurrencies and the blockchain. It is my belief that crypto is bogus and that the blockchain is genius. Let me explain and give a few examples to support my ideas. Cryptos have nothing backing them, and they represent nothing that has a correlation to today's real and tangible economy, let alone a monetary policy. The value that is attributed to cryptos today is solely based on the hope that I might be able to resell that crypto at a profit. This means that the value of that currency is based on the economic laws of supply and demand, and a currency, by definition, cannot be that volatile. Most, if not all, traders acquire cryptocurrencies today, relying on the hope that tomorrow someone will be willing to buy that same currency at a premium. Let me give you an example to validate the impossibility of using cryptocurrencies as payment methods in 2023. Currencies, by definition, and most importantly, by the needs of the market, are required to be stable. Instability would undermine the perceived value and the price of the commodities that we would like to trade in exchange for cryptocurrencies. Say we desire to pay for a car in crypto. Let's say that supercar we're looking for costs today 100 crypto. What happens if the price of that crypto suddenly drops or dramatically increases? And we've seen that. Let's assume that the value of that cryptocurrency drops by 50%. That car will cost 50% more at 150 cryptos. If the market value of that cryptocurrency, which is absurd in itself, attributing a market value to a cryptocurrency, but let's say that the value soars 50%, then that car will cost 50% less at 50 cryptos. The car actually doesn't change its value from one day to the other. That's obvious to anyone. Why then would we have to pay either 50% more or 50% less for that same car according to criteria that are irrelevant if correlated to the vehicle itself? We do this because crypto is not a currency. Even though most people tend to associate it with what a currency actually should be, without them having any of the features of a currency. Cryptos are commodities, as gold and pork bellies. If you begin to compare cryptos to commodities, then you start to understand the volatility that has featured them and their most notable champion, Bitcoin. We went from a point where you needed a truckload of Bitcoin to buy a pizza, to another pinnacle where one single Bitcoin was worth in excess of $50,000. It is clear that we cannot represent the prices of goods with a monetary instrument that has this level of volatility. It just doesn't work. This is why cryptocurrencies as indicators of the market price for goods and services cannot function. Prices on goods and services should fluctuate solely based on their value, their perceived value, or sound economic laws such as supply and demand. And we should never be including the currency variable to prices and how they are subject to rise and drop based on which currency we choose to use. The blockchain, on the other hand, is genius. Let me tell you why I believe that the blockchain is a true revolution of modern economics as we know it. Our whole payment apparatus is based on a system of ledgers where all the transactions are registered. This system is exclusively run, owned, and controlled by the banking system. Buyers and sellers rely completely on the correctness, the impartiality of the banking institution to correctly regulate, annotate, and store the records of all transactions. The most fundamental truth is that all involved parties have to trust, with blind faith, that the system is run correctly and fairly. For example, when we carry out a credit card transaction, we are blindly trusting that the bank will properly record the transaction. We are blindly trusting that the bank will apply the correct interest rate for the correct number of days before we pay our overdue statement. All the accounting of that transaction, all the bookkeeping of the ledgers is demanded to the bank. The bank, by the way, in a zero-sum game, also happens to be our counterpart. Let us never forget in a zero-sum, if one loses, the other gains. This to say, if the bank chose to be unfair, you would lose money that it would gain. What one pays, the other one earns. When you look at credit card transactions in this light, the scenario is terrifying in its asymmetry. You are at the complete mercy of the good faith and lack of technical errors of the keeper of the records. God forbid malicious interventions where records are modified at a subsequent date, because you will be at the mercy of the master of the paperwork. This is where the blockchain comes into play. Complete freedom is where the ledgers are public, unalterable, and do not depend on one of the parties for their operating principles. Blockchain will change the world of economic transactions as we know it, and cryptocurrencies, unless the system of value attribution changes, will remain a speculator's tool, like many others, without even ever surging to the status of a meaningful trading symbol. Peace. This is Mentor, Motivate, Inspired, and that is all I have for you today. Thank you. If you appreciate this channel, please consider pressing the like button, subscribing, and maybe sharing with a friend of yours.